Alright, Shalom. Once again, all praises, honor, and glory unto the Most High, Yahweh, Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Hashem, Kwadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone, and salutations to all you sincere Akiam. And this is your brother Abawan, back again with another video through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Hashem, Kwadash. All praises and glory is due, especially in the times that we're in. And I don't really know what I'm going to entitle this video, but I'm going to be covering this bit of news, breaking news that just happened here in Nigeria. Palantir co-founder Lonsdale to invest in Nigeria drone firm, right? So the co-founder of Palantir, right along with Peter Thiel, okay, is investing in a Nigerian drone firm. So let's go into the article a little bit. Terra Industries founders Nathan Nwachukwu and Maxwell Maduka at their factory in Abuja, Nigeria source Terra Industries. So, as we have already established, that Jacob is the former of all things, as it is written, right? Let's quickly go and get that precept just to bring that back. Hold on, so okay, let's quickly go and get that precept just to bring that back. So yeah, the portion of Jacob is not like his fellows, for he is the former of all things. Let's get that. So this is the book of Jeremiah 10 verse 16. The portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. So we already know how much our people excel when it comes to physical dominance, the sports, the combat sports, and so on and so forth. But Jake also excels, like I've said before, mentally as well, and also when it comes to science and technology and these STEM fields, right? Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And this is another example of that, because not only do you have these kinds of situations happening with these Jakes right here that are basically making their own drones all the way here in Nigeria, but you also had a similar situation happen with the Jakes that made their own payment system, right, in here in Nigeria as well. That was Paystack. And basically what happens is that a lot of these start-up businesses you have here in Nigeria, right, that are set up by Jakes always gets bought out and eventually twisted up by Esau Edom in order to push the wicked agenda of the elites of Esau Edom. And that's really why I'm doing this video right now, because this is a major thing right here, okay? Because the drones that were actually being created by these jigs, right, and of course the article is going to go into it as well. They were being created for the sake of defense. These are actual military drones and military grade drones that were being created. So whenever somebody asks you and say, oh, what has the so-called black man ever made, right, you have examples like this, because this is not something that just happens. This is something that happens all over the world, wherever our people are. You also have in Babylon the Great as well. I'm sure that you actually know about that Jake that is constantly, making that is trying to make fuel from plastic, I believe, right? He's trying to make his own fuel that actually runs and starts gasoline engines from plastics, right? I've forgotten the exact name of that Jake, but he also is a part of this as well. Basically, the former of all things. You see our people that's even in the condition that we're in, even though we're at the bottom, Jake is still innovating. Jake is still trying to invent and create new things. But of course, your adversary, the devil, will not allow you to just innovate and create in peace. So Palantir's co-founder, and anytime you hear about these dudes that are always involved in AI, involved in surveillance, involved in really IT for the most part. When I say IT, I mean these are major billionaire tech bros, right? Your Zuckerbergs, your Musks, your Amazon CEO guy, what's his name again? Bezos, right? And Gates as well. You always have to pay close attention to what is going on and what they are dealing with. And the same can be said for this Palantir CEO, co-founder right here, not the actual CEO. We are not talking about Peter Thiel, okay? We are talking about his partner in crime, his devil in crime, okay? So let's keep going into this article. I can already say that this article was written January 12th, 2026. So this is fresh off the presses, okay? So let's go into it. Palantir Technologies Incorporated co-founder Joe Lonsdale led investors betting on a little-known Nigerian defense startup that's expanding drone manufacturing as violent extremism spreads across Africa. So this is how Esau Edom the devil operates, right? Nobody here in Nigeria even knew that you had jigs that were creating drones, right? But these devils, immediately they heard about it and they saw what was going on. They came in instantly and swept up, these jigs, right? And basically put their backing and their funding into them. And the deal is that they get 11 point something $million, and basically these jigs, right, give the Palantir co-founder a share of their company, right? So it's a majority share of their company. So now, it remains, so that you already know how this is going to go, right? Once you have a majority share of the company, you basically own the company, so they can direct, how this drone manufacturing works and what it's being used for. We will see how it plays out at the end of the day, right? But what we are connecting this to, and the main reason why we're making this video, is because, of course, once again, this is for the sake of pushing Esau Edom's agenda, and this is for the sake, of course, of pushing the one MOTB throughout the four corners of the earth. Because I'm sure that a lot of you Jakes have probably thought, how would they get the C hip, right? And how would they push the C hip stations and the chipping stations in the more rural parts of the world, like here in Africa, for example, right? How would they get all these people that are in the villages, all these people that are in the mud huts, that are in the more rural parts of Africa, to take the C hip, and how they push it to them? And this is an example of that. This is a example of how they will do that, because Esau Edom is already making heavy inroads into the tech business or the tech industry here in Nigeria. But let's keep going into it. Right, so Terra Haptics Incorporated said it raised $11.8 million in a round that Lonsdale founded 8VC led, right? And this 8VC is basically a venture capitalist firm that is privately owned by what's his name again? Joe Lonsdale, right? In order to basically do exactly this, find promising startups and buy them up, right? Or quote unquote invest in them, and basically create a majority share for yourself in them. And that's exactly what the same thing that they did with this drone manufacturing thing that Jake got, lined up here in Nigeria. But let's keep going into it. Alex Moore, who focuses on defense investments at 8BC, is a non-executive director at Palantir, joined the board of the drone maker also known as Terra Industry last year, the company said in a statement on Monday. Right, so this is something that they've been watching all the way since last year and making moves all the way since last year. So that's what really raises eyebrows, is that why is a Palantir co-founder and an executive shareholder, right? Or I should say non-executive director in Palantir interested in this, small Nigerian drone startup, right? And that's because of, most likely it is in order to continue to push the agenda of Esau Edom here in Nigeria, because now they have a inroad once again into the IT sector here in Nigeria, right? Which is also going to eventually, allow them to have more inroads into the African IT sector, because the same way you see this happening in Nigeria, it's the same thing that's happening in other parts of the country and the world as well. It's happening in Kenya, it's happening in the Philistines, where basically Esau Edom is taking more and more control over the system of these various countries. And that's why you see that Babylon the Great and all these other nations are moving in the way that they are. Why do you think Russia and China is expanding trade with all these other nations? And of course, this is just speaking as a man, but it's most likely to create infrastructure that the MOTB will be easily able to move through, okay? But let's keep going into this. Founded in 2024 by Nathan Nwanchukwu and Max Maduka, Abuja-based Terra produces long and mid-range drones, autonomous sentry towers, and unmanned ground vehicles. The equipment helps secure infrastructure assets, valued at about 1 billion across Africa, including hydropower plants in Nigeria, as well as gold and lithium mining operations in Ghana, it said. Africa is industrializing faster than any other region with new mines, refineries, and power plants every month, said Nwachukwu. But none of that progress will matter if we don't solve the continent's greatest Achilles heel, which is insecurity and terrorism. So basically, they're making our unmanned drones, and if you know anything about these unmanned drones, you know how Esau Edom has been using AI recently to try to make them more intelligent and more and putting AI on them, putting artillery on them, because eventually, right, these drones are going to also be used on the people, on you people that are in the world. Right, and these unmanned drones, they can be have or put or placed on command, and you giving instruction in order of what to do. And I'm sure that you can have been seeing all these videos of how the unmanned drones are being used to basically control artillery, control different weapons, right? And how they are being trained to target specific colors and specific shapes and things like that. And that's really what or I should say, Slovakia, just an example of what these drones are capable of, right? But this is actually a very interesting play by Esau right here, right? It's also going to lead to a control of one of the sectors here in Nigeria, which is which is military and defense, by creating these drones. But we'll see. And it remains to be seen what these devils are actually plotting with this, right? So let's get some precepts, right? Because like I said, the main thing is why I'm even going into this as well. And before I go and get any more precepts, I also want to get this in the charts, because there is another reason why I'm going into this, right? Because I was recently just going through, and doing the normal, doing normal research, right? Only to find out this, okay, that's palantir. So let's get this. Hold on, I'm trying to get it in the charts. Right. That palantir was. This is what I don't know. I don't know why the chat isn't loading right now. So lucky about that. You have to bear with me. It's network. It's Nigeria. Always having issues with network. You have to bear with me. I'm trying to see if I can get it open in the Chrome instead. Rather than waiting for this network to come in. So it should be in and Q and cell. That should be it. In Q cell. So okay about that. Okay, so now at least we know that that's loading up. So let's just wait a little bit more. Network is really bad here. Now I should open up. Yeah, it's lucky. I'm trying to open this thing up, but it's not really opening up for me. So I'm just going to do this instead. Let's try the AI mode. Now basically this InQtel, what it is a venture capitalist corporation, right? The same with that what they call it, what it's called, but the six let's go back to the article real quick. The same with this 8VC that's being created by that was created by the co-founder of Palantir. So what this InQtel is a venture capitalist corporation that basically funds other startups and corporations, especially in the tech sector, right? And it's being controlled by the CIA. So let's get this. InQtel is an American non-profit strategic investment firm that connects the U.S. national security community, including the CIA, with private sector technology innovations. It acts as a bridge to ensure U.S. intelligence and the defense agencies have access to cutting-edge commercial technologies. The name is an intentional reference to Q, the fictional inventor from the James Bond series. Okay, so basically what this is, so if you usually hear about how well Facebook, and various other these tech firms are being funded by the CIA. This was the method in which it is being done in QTEL, and the reason why I'm mentioning this in QTEL is because I was reading through it and I find out that Palantir was actually funded by InQtel. We should already know this because the CIA has been using Palantir the CIA has been using Palantir as a form of surveillance for ever since its founding, really, right? The same with Facebook, the same with a lot of your other social media apps. They've been using them for surveillance. They've been, collecting the data that the Facebook and these other social media apps store about you, right? And using them to collect basically just as data collection. Okay, so let's get this. Yes, Palantir was one of the first and most notable companies funded by InQtel. The CIA's venture capital arm provided early seed funding and was instrumental in connecting Palantir with its initial government clients, which helped launch the company. So let's remember that Palantir is a surveillance company first and foremost, right? And the reason why Palantir has become more prominent in these times, right, and become more prominent, throughout last year and this year as well, because they want to implement AI into their surveillance, which is once again another aspect of the MOTB, where AI will basically be in control of processing the vast amount of information that will be passed through it via the MOTB and BAST system, right? And of course, the surveillance represents Esau Edom wanting to keep track and keep of everything that goes on the earth, right? Because these devils have that God complex. They want to be as the Most High, Yahweh, Hashem, Yahshai, right? So you want to have the ability to be able to see all things that happen on the earth. That should be not omniscient. There's another way of saying it, omnipresent, basically, right? To be able to see everything that happens on the earth, and that is basically what Palantir is set up to be, right? And now this same company is now making inroads into the Nigerian tech sectors, like, yeah, by investing in this company here in Nigeria that makes drones for the sake of defense, basically, right, against not only the jihadist terrorist groups that are operating here in Nigeria, which of course are all set up by America, Babylon the Great, right, but also other I want to say adversary, but also other enemies as well, right? So yeah, it remains to be seen what this will actually lead to. So everything I just said, I just been speaking as a man, what I most likely expect to happen, because this is a major deal, right? Especially to you Nigerians out there, or you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, specifically you Nigerians or you Israelites that are scattered here in Nigeria, so you so-called Nigerians, right? Because when these devils are involved in anything, okay, especially when it comes to providing money for it, it is not for your favor and it is not for your help. So we see that Esau Edom is making big moves, right, in this 2026. So with that, I'll end the video right there. Once again, all praises, honor, and glory unto the Most High. Yahweh, Shami, Hawashaiba, Shamraka, Kwadash, Wa Abad, Babala, until with the Spirit of you are Tiaman, you are quite edified. Shalom.